On social media, she blocked you. Then she appeared where she knew you would be. You are nothing, she told her friends. Unique. She then inquired as to what you had said about her. Your message was left on read for 3 days. She then watched each and every story you shared. This isn't misunderstanding. There are no conflicting indications here. This is the most traditional type of psychological, you were never taught how to read it, and it was warfare. I studied for 11 years human behavior in settings that are rarely seen by others. Private discussions, corporate talks, settings where the ability to discern concealed motive was lacking. It was survival. What I discovered altered my perspective on all interactions, particularly those with men and women. According to Robert Greene, the most dangerous individuals are those who conceal their true motivations behind a stratum of typical conduct. Although he was discussing power, he was also characterizing desire, since hidden strategy and hidden seeking are governed by the same principles. The more someone desires anything, the harder they try to hide it. I am providing you with the entire map today, 13 clues that she intentionally pretends she doesn't want you, but secretly does. Not superficial guidance. There aren't any clear indicators anywhere. I am displaying the patterns of shadows for you. The actions that only become apparent when you are fully aware of where to search. However, you must first comprehend something most men never understand. She hides for a reason, and you're not the cause. According to Schopenhauer, human will functions independently of conscious awareness. People don't decide what they want, they are chosen by desire. Additionally, when one wants clashes with one's social standing, fear of rejection, and self-image, the mind puts on a mask to shield herself from her emotions rather than to trick you. This is what I refer to as the shadow desire protocol. There are 3 stages to it: concealment, testing, and revelation. All of the signs I'm going to show you fit into one of these stages. You can't unsee the pattern once you've noticed it. Let's start with sign 1. She recalls specifics you didn't highlight. You brought up a restaurant 3 weeks prior. A brief remark. You hardly recall saying it. She then raises it as a fact rather than a query. You mentioned that you liked the pasta from the 5th Street establishment. This memory is not good. Selective attention is what this is. The brain doesn't note everything equally. It gives emotional significance top priority. This movement of psychic energy toward objects of desire was dubbed sexist by Freud. When her unconscious is telling you something that her words can never convey, and she can recall minute details. However, here is where the majority of men don't succeed. They become ecstatic. They draw attention to it. You recalled that. She now feels vulnerable. The mask rises once more. More difficult than previously. The right answer is easy. Recognize without emphasizing. Yes, we ought to give it a try sometime. You sounded unsurprised, no enthusiasm. Because of the fact that a man who is accustomed to evidence of wanting does not cause being wanted to react, Green imparts that power. Belongs to people who have control over their responses. This is the point at which an idea becomes useful. Your lack of response tells her something important. It is not necessary to perform in order to get close to you. She is able to omit details without penalty. Last year, I worked with a man who had great first interactions with women but continued to lose them. Each and every time he took advantage of her interest. Each signal turned into a discussion regarding the signal. He believed he was developing closeness. He was exerting more pressure. When everything changed, when he discovered how to receive without clutching, indicate that one is a member of the stage of hiding. Although she is trying to hide her interest, it is evident. Recollection. The space you occupy in her memory is revealed by the detail she remembers. Put this in writing. It is involuntary to pay attention. Her recollections reveal what she can't stop contemplating. However, memory is just the initial leak. The subsequent indication appears at a location that most men would never consider looking. It also shows how powerful she is, in addition to showing curiosity. I'm afraid you've already moved on from her. The second sign, she restrains her laughs. Indications number 2 to 3 you. Observe a woman with a man she doesn't think is important. She laughs freely, not protected. She doesn't care how long it lasts or how it sounds. There's not tension due to the lack of stakes. Watch her now with a man she secretly desires. She laughs, but it ends abruptly as if she caught herself in the middle of her expression. The corners of her smile tighten. She quickly averts her gaze, nearly verifying if she disclosed too much. This is real-time emotional control, and it wears you out. Machiavelli noted that in order to manage results, one must first control themselves. This is automatically used by a lady who is concealing her desire. Unguarded laughter, she understands, is a show of openness. Being transparent conveys vulnerability, and it feels risky to be vulnerable before being certain. She edits, therefore, not because she disapproves of you, because she loves you too much to put herself in danger. I would like you to recognize how serious this is. She is using mental energy to control how she reacts to you. That energy isn't squandered on unimportant persons. There is no need to control indifference. The only thing that does is desire. This is the test for you. Say something light-hearted, not at your best substance, something to make you grin rather than laugh. If she chuckles more than she is acting comfortably, as the joke deserves. If she laughs less than it deserves, but she's hiding something else. This is a counterintuitive piece of advice. Don't try to make her laugh anymore. Don't use comedy to break through her authority. She feels more pressure to control herself. Rather, allow the there is silent, controlled laughing. Give her the impression that you're not attempting to elicit a response. That security is ultimately responsible for the mask's dissolution. We're going to something darker now. Sign 3. She disparages ladies that she believes you find appealing, not immediately apparent insults, nothing to give the impression that she was envious. Subtle reframes. You bring up a female co-worker. She discovers a weakness. She appears a little disorganized. However, isn't that correct? You identify a performer. She makes a disparaging remark. Her in interviews voice can be a bit unpleasant. This negativity is not arbitrary. This is cognition of territory. Humans are motivated more by will than by reason, according to Schopenhauer. The justifications are created by the rational mind after the will has made up its mind. When she sets boundaries with her words and criticizes ladies in your sphere of influence, will not admit. Here, the psychology is exact. She doesn't think consciously. The unconscious takes the lead, saying, I want him, so I must diminish rivals. She senses discomfort when your focus shifts to anything else. Her mind comes up with explanations for that unease. She notices shortcomings because the emotion is justified by defects without revealing its origin. This is what gives this symbol its potency. She does approach with ladies that she believes pose a threat, not every woman. If you bring up when a female buddy gives a neutral response, it doesn't register as competition. However, if neutrality breaks, you've discovered an advantage if criticism gets through. Your action is not to face this. Saying something like, sounds like you are jealous, will compel denial and boost the strength of her defenses. Instead, make a secret note of it. Identify the pattern because every critique reveals something about how she evaluates herself in comparison to others and you. This was dubbed shadow projection by Jung. The traits she criticizes in other people frequently express self-doubt. She feels inadequately attractive, therefore she believes that attractive women have weaknesses. She fears she isn't captivating enough. Thus, she disparages women who pique your curiosity. This is what the shadow reveals itself. Her words have two meanings once you see them. I spoke with a man whose girlfriend was often making fun of his female co-workers. She seemed insecure to him. She was, but she had never really admitted the longing that was the source of her unease. The criticism subsided when he stopped standing up for his co-workers and began praising his fiancée on his own initiative. She doesn't. She felt safe in his presence and no longer felt the need to denigrate others. We are getting close to the edge, but sign 3 is still under concealment. The subsequent indicators enter the testing stage. At this point, she starts to delve, to measure, to determine whether her feelings are safe. Additionally, the initial test is one the majority of males feel rejected. Sign 4, she retreats after a short while of signs number 4 to 5, intimacy. You're having an honest conversation, not just small talk. There is warmth and lingering eye contact. The mask slips for a second. You see her, obviously, and she permits it. Then she disappears. Slow messages. Accessibility goes away. She is courteous but aloof when you do see her. There is no longer any warmth. This is interpreted by most guys as a lack of interest. They're not correct. This is the shadow's initial test. Pass or fail the desired protocol. The eternal recurrence was discussed in Enzid's writing, the notion that we should live as though each moment would never end. Use this to emotional danger. If you let her want you and you let her down, she does not only lose once. Every time she recalls choosing vulnerability, she loses. In order to see what you do with her, she withdraws after intimacy without punishing you. Room. If you chase after signals that are essential to your stability, you will fail. Her existence. She feels pressured by that neediness. She believed in herself. After being honest for a moment, she is now being asked to control her emotions. The mask is permanently returned. You also fail if you totally vanish. Complete disengagement is interpreted as apathy. She took a genuine risk. Your absence claims it didn't matter. The middle is where the right answer resides. You stay present without actively seeking. You don't send her too many messages. You don't disappear as well. You carry on with your life in plain sight. When routes intersect, you interact. You don't appear hurt or in a hurry. This answer conveys a crucial message. That intimacy with you does not establish a duty that she can open and close without losing you. That you're grounded is based on her actions, not a performance. According to Green, strategic disengagement generates desire. However, he also teaches that complete absence leads to forgetfulness. The mastery is characterized by a balanced presence that is both near enough to be sensed and far enough to be missed. I've witnessed men lose out on potential partners because they couldn't handle the testing stage. The female desired him. To test, she withdrew. In a panic, he focused all of his concentration on her. She discovered that his stability was contingent, not because she withdrew, but rather because of his response to it. The fourth sign indicates the start of the test. Without using words, she is posing a query. Is it possible for me to want you without losing myself? The answer is written by your actions. Sign 5. She poses as unconcerned and inquires about your romantic life. The question is veiled in casualness. Are you dating anyone then? Have a lot planned for this weekend? She inquires, then instantly glances at her phone or shifts the topic. She wants you to think that the question didn't matter, even if it did. This is intelligence, assembling. It would be immediately apparent to Machiavelli prior to any campaign. You have to understand the terrain. Without knowing what she is dealing with, she is unable to plan her own desires. Here's the subtlety, though. She doesn't approach males she considers pals. Friends are asked direct questions, without stress. She doesn't approach males who don't interest her. Those men don't spark interest. The telltale sign of her fake apathy is when she asks you. The mentality. There is self-protection underneath. If she asks clearly and you respond in a manner, she is exposed, which stings. However, she can take in any response if she asks informally, without looking foolish. Armor is the casualness, your answer. Here, alternatives differ. Answer with amused vagueness if you wish to pique her curiosity. As some circumstances, nothing major as of yet. This makes things mysterious. It offers choices without verification. She fills in the blanks with her imagination, which always produces more curiosity than knowledge. You can test her investment by pausing a little before responding. Allow silence to hold for an extra second. Then give a kind reply. You ask, but why? Not accusing. Sincere curiosity. You'll learn everything from her response to this. Being defensive indicates hiding. Comfort is shown by playfulness. The thing you should never do is explain too much. When men detect attraction, they frequently divulge their whole romantic past in an attempt to appear available or sought. She is inundated with information from this that she did not request, for it conveys enthusiasm. It eliminates the stress that prompted her to inquire in the first place. Location. According to Epictetus, we are in charge of our opinions rather than outside circumstances. Use this in this situation. Whether or not she asks is beyond your control. You are in charge of the weight of your response. Curiosity is sparked by light responses. Retreat is a result of heavy responses. Sign 5 is still being tested. Your availability is being mapped by her. However, the following indication goes farther. She begins to test your character rather than your circumstances. Additionally, until you realize what the test actually measures, it seems disrespectful. Signs number 6 to 8. Make a sixth sign. She jokingly questions or contradicts you. You share an opinion. She pushes back, not aggressively, but persistently. You recommend something. She questions it. You state a preference. She offers the opposite view. Most men read this as friction. Some read it as disinterest. The insecure ones read it as disrespect. Everybody of them miss the point. Robert Greene observed that tension is essential to seduction. Without resistance, there is no polarity. Without polarity, there is no charge. She is not disagreeing with you because she thinks you are wrong. She is creating friction because friction sustains engagement. There is another layer. The contradiction is a test of frame. Frame is your ability to hold your reality under pressure. When she challenges you, she is asking, does he bend? Does he break? Or does he hold? Bending too easily signals weakness. She pushed and you collapsed. Your opinions are not actually yours. They were performances waiting to be corrected. Breaking signals volatility. You became defensive, irritated, aggressive. Now she knows pressure destabilizes you. That is data she cannot ignore. Holding means you listen to her challenge, ponder it, and reply from true position, not intransigence, not dismissal, groundedness. You may hear disagreement without trying to dominate or submit. Here is the wording that works. That is a fair point. But this is why I still view it this way. You acknowledge her intelligence. You do not abandon your perspective. You generate dialogue, not combat. This test divides boys from men faster than any other, since most guys either cave to earn favor or combat to assert superiority. Neither response generates attraction. Both reveal insecurity. She wants a third choice, a man whose frame exists independent of her affirmation. 7 signs. She produces reasons to lightly touch you. A hand on your arm while you're speaking, fastening something on your body, rubbing up against you when space permitted clothes that didn't require repair. This sign appears to be clear. It's not because even when touch is intentional, the women with the best concealment skills make it appear accidental. The unspoken reality is this. The body uses touch to test chemistry before the intellect makes a commitment. She is using contact to collect info. Is it safe to touch him? Does it feel thrilling? Is he tense or does he accept it calmly? Freud wrote a great deal regarding the principle of pleasure. The body instinctively craves pleasure and steers clear of pain. Her hand gestures are the while her conscious mind maintains deniability. The pleasure principle manifests itself in action. You don't realize how important your response is. If you stiffen or wince, you indicate discomfort. This seems like rejection to her. Touches cease. If you escalate right now, you show impatience. You grabbed for a mile after taking an inch. She is under pressure. Calm reception is the best reaction. Allow the contact to land, don't retreat. Avoid lunging forward. Allow touch to occur without changing it into an occasion. Later, with the same casualness, start touching yourself. Putting a hand on her shoulder while she laughed. Natural, succinct, and devoid of intent. This creates a loop by reflecting her actions. She makes contact, you make contact. You both sense the increase, but neither of you admits it. Construction, sign 8. She discloses weaknesses that she keeps hidden. This one is different, everything. To men she does not trust. A woman who is defending her emotional stance does not show weakness. Leverage is a weakness. It becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. She is aware. This comes naturally to me. Thus, when she shares with you something genuine and expensive, listen to what she has to say. This isn't a casual discussion. This is an investment. According to Schopenhauer, all life is suffering, and our relationships are an effort to share that burden. When she asks if you can bear the weight of her struggles, fears, and imperfections, without utilizing it against her. The majority of males respond by fixing problems. Vulnerability is heard by them and provide answers right away. This completely misses the idea. She didn't share to be fixed. To be seen, she shared. The right answer is existence without assistance. A pause. Make eye contact. That sounds like something heavy. I appreciate you telling me. No quick tips. Don't minimize. Simply recognition that her candor was important. This reaction has a strong effect. It informs her that you don't need to perform to be vulnerable. She doesn't have to be powerful, amusing, or simple. Even if she is human, you won't rush, correct, or misuse. According to Marcus Aurelius, stop wasting time debating whether the application is this. Man should be one. Don't tell her you're reliable. Show it by taking advantage of what she has to give. Sign 8 indicates a change. Testing is giving way to revelation. She has concealed herself. She's probed. And now the mask is falling in pieces. However, the following indicators appear in locations you wouldn't anticipate. They also show you how much mental space you already have. Make a 9. She signs number 9 to 10, brings back previous chats you had. Not the things that matter, not the items you wanted her to keep it in mind. The fleeting remarks, the fleeting observations, the information you overlooked before the phrase was completed. She returns them. At one point, you mentioned that band. You mentioned that you detest that type of coffee, didn't you? This demonstrates psychological resonance. Rentrée, you're living in her head. Jung mentioned the unconscious, or anima. Men possess a feminine image, whereas women carry a masculine image known as animus. You enter her mind without her consent when you start to occupy her wrath. She records talks, examines word choice, and deduces meaning from times that you thought were typical. The allusions she cites are the remains of that procedure. Although she can't tell you that she thinks about you when you're not around, she can demonstrate it by what she kept. This is the difference that most men overlook. If she recalls something significant, she was paying attention to the facts you purposefully offered. Respect is that. However, if she was recording, so she recalls the details you gave her without emphasis. That is a completely different matter. Don't make her feel self-conscious about this. Act not characterize her memories as, I cannot believe you remember that, too much. Rather, accept it as normal. Yes, precisely. Next, Proceed the discussion. Allow her to recollect without becoming the center of attention. This makes her more normal. Investment. It conveys to her that she shouldn't feel ashamed of being known by you, that you anticipate people should listen to you because you are valuable. Conceit, no frame. When a man appears taken aback by interest, it indicates that interest is uncommon. Calmly, the individual who gets it indicates that he expects interest. Sign 10. She mimics the way you speak. This is absorption from the subconscious. You make use of a certain phrase. She repeats the same phrase a few days later. You explain something in a particular manner. She takes up the description. This isn't imitation. It is linguistic fusion only occurs with those who have gotten past our psychological barriers. Green composes about the skill of drawing others to you. However, there is a point after attraction where they don't just approach, they start to take in. Your vocabulary is included into their vocabulary. Their frames are your frames. When a female begins to speak, she is not copying like you, she's assimilating. Your habits have changed, past her barriers, and are already affecting the way she interprets words. Keep an eye out for your unique expressions, the ones specific to your speech pattern. When those resurface in her mouth, you have proof of profound psychological effects. This is a subtle move. Employ an intentional new phrase that is distinct and memorable. Hold on, you will get confirmation if she accepts it within a few conversations. She's not merely paying attention to you, you're being encoded by her. This sign is owned by revelation. She isn't only being tested anymore, she is evolving as a result of your presence. Changes this profound cannot be concealed indefinitely. I want to take a moment now to prepare for what comes next. The strongest indications are still present. They are the most misinterpreted as well. These are the actions that make men feel hostile, appear to be rejection, and turn them off just before the breakthrough. Have you ever witnessed a woman become abruptly chilly after displaying warmth, or abruptly critical after demonstrating accepting? Everything you previously believed to be true will be reframed in this phase. The shadow does not softly emerge. When it bursts, if you're not when you're ready, you'll flee from precisely what you sought. Sign 11 demands that you to comprehend a concept that Nietzsche studied throughout his career. He referred to it as the reassessment of every value. The notion that what seems to be one thing frequently serves as the reverse. Weakness masquerading as power, kindness masquerading as cruelty. Additionally, rejection serves as a desperate invitation for us. The last stage is about to begin. Sign 11. She starts criticizing inexplicably signs 11 to 12U. Everything was all right. Talk flowed. It was a warm energy. Next, something changes. She finds fault. You made a poor decision. Your viewpoint is incorrect. In reality, the thing you found amusing is annoying. It feels like the end. It is for the majority of males. They back off, presuming they misinterpret everything or that they retaliate, escalating the situation. Both answers fail to recognize what is genuinely taking place. Freud discovered a process that he named response creation. The mind creates the opposite of a feeling when it gets too dangerous to recognize. Love is concealed by hatred. Inhumanity conceals desire. Want is concealed by criticism. When you have probably unintentionally passed a threshold when she suddenly turns harsh. Her emotions grew stronger, outside her comfort zone. They were too big for the mask to hold. Thus, the shadow reversed the signal. You are not disliked by her. She doesn't like how much she is beginning to rely on you. And since she is unable to verbalize that, her mind changes the pressure into its reverse manifestation. Most men are eliminated at this point. The exam is harsh and unjust. It's a test, though. Are you able to hold the frame? When she starts to turn against you, when she gets cold, will you be able to stay warm? Are you able to... Can you identify armor that is dressed for an attack? This is your answer. Don't match her enthusiasm. Refrain from defending or attacking her criticism. Allow her words to exist. Take a moment, then react calmly and groundedly. I hear you, I see, or something like that, things in a different way, but I value your candor. There is no harm in your voice, no counterattack, no sarcasm. This approach accomplishes something remarkable. It demonstrates that you can handle challenging emotions without becoming unstable due to her intensity. Reacting that your center does not rely on her approval for its performance. According to Hobbes, human existence is lonely, impoverished, cruel, and brief. The sentimental version is this one. Relationships put us to the test. Trust that is never gained by amicable interactions is earned by the individual who upholds integrity in the face of brutality. Something comes out of her when you endure her judgment. The examination is over. She is now aware of your stability. Maintaining the mask gets more difficult, as she doesn't require it for protection anymore. Sign 12. She discusses other males with observe your response. She talks about a man she used to date, a guy at work, a friend who wants to date her. The reference is informal yet intentional, and she watches after she says it. The jealousy probe is one of the oldest psychological exams. Machiavelli suggested that princes research how others react to perceived dangers. True position is shown by the response. She is using the same idea. After posing a perceived threat, she reads your response to comprehend your investment. If you show signs of jealousy, you reveal the need. Jealousy declares that your feelings are determined by her decisions. This gives her leverage, not request a responsibility that she does not desire. If you start acting aggressively or being contemptuous of the other man, you convey insecurity. You noticed a danger and couldn't deal with it without resorting to violence. That reaction makes people afraid, not allure. You indicate harm if you shut down entirely. You couldn't remain present as soon as competition emerged. Fragility is what that reads as. The right answer is neutrality of interest. Yes, exactly. How did you get to know him? You interact without tensing. Your curiosity is unconcerned. You handle the data as intriguing rather than dangerous. This answer conveys great value without words. When a lady brings up other men, a man with options does not freak out. A male A person who is aware of his value does not need to use animosity to eradicate competition. He believes his existence is self-evident. The deeper psychology is shown here. In reality, she has no interest in these other men. She wouldn't be if she were describing them to you. Real possibilities are not advertised by women to the men they desire. They purposely bring up guys to see how they respond. The reference is a submit, a bid for verification. She needs you to show her that you care, but she wants you to show concern without becoming agitated. The test is that threading. Albert Ellis created rational emotive behavior therapy with a single central idea. Wisdom. Events do not cause emotional discomfort, rather ideas regarding happenings. Use this in this situation. She mentions another man, which is the occurrence. The irrational belief, I'm losing her because of this. The logical answer is that she is testing because she is concerned enough to do so. Reframe what happened. Get through the test. As her level of security rises, observe the decline in her other man mentions. We are currently in revelation. The mask is breaking. There's still one sign. And now is the time when everything is inverted. Sign 13. Just before she gives up, she pushes you away. This is sign number 13 plus identity transformation plus synthesis. The last test, the pinnacle of the shadow desire procedure, and it is the one without planning, very few men live. Progress has been made, the link is actual, the signs have mounted. You sense a growing sense of assurance. Then without she establishes a distance as a warning. Not the previous testing distance, something sharper. She calls off plans. She becomes chilly. She might even state outright that this is not going to be successful. Your entire being cries, "It's over, get out of here." Do Schopenhauer discuss the will's propensity for self-destruction? Unconscious fear creates barriers when we pursue our true desires. She isn't rejecting us because we want the thing so deeply that it scares us, not because we don't want it. She's afraid of what's going to happen to you. To surrender is to give up, control. For a woman who has been using testing and concealment to manage her desire, giving up feels like plummeting, and the natural reaction is to reach for anything solid before falling. Grab appears to be an attempt to push you away. It's a last-ditch effort to get back control before it gets impossible. You need to know this. If she didn't want you, she wouldn't have to press. Apathy doesn't need force, only desire does. Her push is frequently as powerful as the depth of her want. Everything depends on how you react. If you accept the rejection, taking it at face value, you validate her innermost anxiety that the emotions were excessive, that she was correct to conceal the fact that abandoning results from vulnerability. You can show she was mistaken to want you if you are upset or desperate. Response confirms all of her wary instincts, but if you say something like, "I hear what you are doing," but then something else happens. Stating, "I'm not leaving, I'll be here when you're ready to discuss." Next, you provide true space, not deceptive silence, for her story is rewritten by this response, which gives her time to think. Your dread did not frighten me away. Your push was unsuccessful. I'm still here, not running away or chasing. Plato described the cave where inmates mistook shadows for reality. She has been living in a self-made cave. The hiding, these are shadows on the wall, the pressing, the testing, and your steadfastness is the light that exposes them for what they are. The mask falls off when you endure the last push, not gradually, entirely, as she is no longer in need of it. You have demonstrated that every fear underneath the facade, there was no justification. When she pushed, you stayed. You demonstrated to her that you were safe when she became agitated. The moment of revelation is when the shadow desire gets articulated and ceases to exist as shadow. She explains or demonstrates to you what has always been true, but let to be clear, you cannot pretend to be steady while experiencing desperate. The holding must be genuine. She will detect the incongruence. You must genuinely have self-confidence and be grounded enough. To this brings us to the actual lesson. Everything I have demonstrated to you will help you weather her storm without losing your composure. The 3 phases, the responses, and the 13 signs all need one today. NZ stated, "You have to develop into a man whose stability is not performance. Almost any how can be tolerated by someone with a why. She cannot be your reason. If so, why is gaining her consent, winning her love, and gaining her commitment? You will get tighter with each test. You will come across as needy in every encounter. The mask will identify your mask. Your reasons must be internal, self-mastery, personal progress, becoming the guy you know you are capable of being. When that is your why, her tests become unimportant. Not because you do not care, because your caring has a foundation she cannot shake. Marcus Aurelius spent a lifetime practicing this. He ran his kingdom while composing intimate reminders to keep centered regardless of outward upheaval. You are not ruling an empire, but you are navigating something as intricate, another human heart. And hearts test the way empires rebel, not to destroy you, to discover out who you truly are. When you internalize this, let me tell you what happens. You pause misreading. Once perceived as rejection, the silence is now identifiable as hiding. The previously painful coldness turns into blatant testing. The pushback that, after confusing you, turns out to be the door leading to the breakthrough. You give up pursuing, not because you've mastered a tactical retreat technique, thus you really don't have to chase anymore. You have faith in the procedure. You have faith You are aware that what is intended for you won't force you to give up. Your core. You begin to attract in a different way. Women see stability prior to comprehend it. Before you speak, you establish safety by being grounded. Moreover, every secret desire is waiting for safety, true safety. The shadow desire protocol is not a method of manipulation. It is a foundation for recognition. These ladies were already concealing their desire. You've just learned to see what was always there from me. Now, the question is straightforward. Are you going to start misreading again? Are you going to go back to bewilderment, annoyance, or lost connections? Will you continue to leave? From women who express their desire for you by using shadow rather than light? Or will you observe? The indicators are everywhere. They've always been there everywhere. The map was just never supplied to you. Now you possess it. I want you to take care of yourself before you go. Become a subscriber to this channel, not in my case. For the selves that are prepared to see with clarity, the man who doesn't misread, the man who perseveres tests, the man who can identify desire even when it takes the form of distance. All the tools in the world are due to that man, and more is on the way. What I possess the first is shared today. The more complex patterns, sophisticated tactics, and overall psychology of shadowy longing. Together we construct that. Remain here, be prepared. Moreover, when she hides again, you'll already